The massive ballroom of the Atlantic Crown Hotel sparkled beneath crystal chandeliers. Soft violin music echoed through the room. Executives laughed over expensive drinks. Politicians exchanged handshakes. Investors discussed deals worth millions. Tonight was the annual Maritime Excellence Gala, one of the most prestigious events on the East Coast. If you owned a shipping company, a defense contractor, or a major corporation, you wanted to be here. And standing at the center of the attention was Alexandra Whitfield, 36 years old, CEO of Whitfield Marine Systems. Beautiful, brilliant, powerful. At least that was how the media described her. Alexandra loved success. She loved status. And most of all, she loved being admired across town. 44-year-old Marcus Reeves shut down the engine of his old tow truck. The truck was scratched. Rust lined part of the bumper. Its paint had faded years ago. Most people would have been embarrassed to arrive at a luxury gala in something like that. Marcus wasn't, because that truck had fed his family. That truck had paid medical bills. That truck had helped him survive the darkest years of his life after losing his wife Laura to cancer 7 years earlier. Marcus became both father and mother to his daughter Grace. There were nights he slept inside that truck between jobs. Days he skipped meals so Grace could eat. Weeks he worked 16 hours straight. Life hadn't been kind, but Marcus never complained. He simply kept moving forward. Earlier that evening, his 17-year-old daughter, Grace, helped him button his shirt. "You sure you want to go?" Marcus smiled. "Really?" Grace laughed. "Then don't. I promised someone." Grace raised an eyebrow. "Who?" Marcus looked at the invitation. The sender's name was unfamiliar. The event organizers had personally requested his attendance. No explanation, no details, just a special guest invitation. Grace shrugged. She adjusted his collar. "Don't scare the rich people." Marcus laughed. "Survive." 20 minutes later, Marcus entered the ballroom and immediately felt hundreds of eyes on him. Not because people recognized him, because they didn't. His suit wasn't expensive. His shoes weren't polished enough. His watch wasn't designer. To the people inside that room, he looked completely out of place. Whispers spread instantly. Who invited him? Is he staff? Maybe maintenance? Wrong event. Marcus ignored it. He'd heard worse. Far worse. He calmly walked toward the refreshment table and poured himself a glass of water. Unfortunately, someone noticed. Alexandra Whitfield, the CEO herself, standing with several wealthy executives. Alexandra glanced toward Marcus, then frowned because she didn't recognize him. And in her world, people she didn't recognize usually weren't important. She crossed the ballroom. Several guests followed, sensing entertainment. Marcus noticed her approaching. He offered a polite nod. "Good evening." Alexandra looked him up and down slowly, deliberately. The room grew quieter. "Can I help you?" "Actually," Alexandra crossed her arms, "I was wondering the same thing." Several nearby guests chuckled. Marcus remained calm. "I'm sorry, this is a private event." Marcus nodded. "Yes." Alexandra waited. Marcus said nothing else. Her irritation grew. "You understand what private means." A few guests laughed louder. Marcus simply held up his invitation. "I was invited." Alexandra barely glanced at it, then smirked. "Interesting." The crowd leaned closer. Alexandra pointed toward the parking area outside the glass wall. A row of luxury cars sparkled beneath the lights. Bentleys, Rolls-Royces, Ferraris. Then, far away, Marcus's old tow truck. Alexandra laughed. "Oh, now everyone understood." Scrapyard sent a representative. Laughter exploded. Marcus stayed silent. Alexandra wasn't finished. She pointed toward the truck again. "You know," she smiled cruelly. Valet parking called. The crowd waited. "They want their junkyard back." More laughter, louder this time. Some guests nearly spilled their drinks. Others covered their mouths. Marcus simply sipped his water. No anger, no embarrassment, no reaction. And somehow that annoyed Alexandra even more. "What?" she snapped. "Nothing to say?" Marcus smiled slightly. "My father taught me something." "Really?" Marcus nodded. "People show their character when they think someone beneath them can't fight back." Several guests immediately stopped laughing because that answer landed differently. Sharper, smarter, more honest. Alexandra forced a smile. "Very inspiring." Then she raised her glass. "Everyone." The room turned. Alexandra pointed toward Marcus. "Let's hear it for the hardest working man in the scrap business." More laughter, more humiliation, more cruelty. But Marcus remained calm because he'd learned long ago that dignity doesn't disappear simply because someone tries to take it. Then suddenly the ballroom doors opened hard. The sound echoed across the room. Every head turned. The laughter stopped instantly. 3 Navy officers entered. Then several decorated commanders. Then more military personnel. The atmosphere changed immediately because these weren't ordinary guests. These were people who commanded respect. Walking at the center of them all was a tall older man with silver hair. His uniform carried rows of medals, decorations, honors, achievements. Everyone recognized him instantly. Admiral Robert Sinclair, one of the most respected military leaders in the country. The room fell silent. Alexandra brightened. Finally, a truly important guest. She hurried forward. "Admiral Sinclair." The admiral didn't even look at her. Alexandra froze. He continued walking past investors, past executives, past politicians, straight across the ballroom toward Marcus Reeves. Nobody understood. The crowd parted. Whispers erupted. The admiral stopped directly in front of Marcus. For 1 second, the room became completely silent. Then the Admiral smiled, a genuine smile, the kind reserved for people deeply respected, and he spoke words that changed everything. Marcus Reeves. The room froze. Alexandra's smile vanished, because the Admiral didn't simply know him. He knew him personally. Marcus nodded. "Good to see you, Admiral." Several guests gasped. "Good to see you," the Admiral said, like old friends. He extended his hand immediately. Both men shook hands firmly, respectfully. The Admiral laughed. "It's been too long." Marcus smiled. "About 15 years. The Admiral turned toward the stunned crowd. Then his expression became serious. Very serious. He looked directly at Alexandra, then asked one simple question. "Has anyone here bothered asking this man who he is?" Nobody answered, because nobody had. Not one person. The Admiral slowly shook his head, disappointed. Then he pointed toward Marcus and spoke words that instantly transformed the room. "You're looking at the man who saved 37 sailors during the Atlantic harbor disaster." Gasps echoed everywhere. Alexandra's face lost color. The Admiral continued. "When everyone else ran away," he paused, "this man drove directly into danger." The ballroom stood frozen. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. And as Admiral Sinclair prepared to reveal the full story of what Marcus Reeves had done 15 years earlier, every person in the room realized something terrifying. They hadn't been mocking an ordinary single father. They had been mocking a hero. If this story moved you, hit subscribe to Enlightened Story for more, and drop a comment below to let us know what you thought.